A rare and highly unusual weather setup is beginning to take shape across the United States, and it could create one of the calmest late May severe weather periods seen in years. In a surprising twist, Oklahoma may finish the entire month of May without recording a single tornado report for the first time in more than 2 decades. During what is normally the heart of tornado season, that outcome feels almost unbelievable. Instead of the typical hot, unstable spring pattern that usually fuels widespread severe storms across Tornado Alley, the atmosphere is being controlled by a long-lasting omega block pattern. This setup is forcing the main jet stream and strongest storm systems away from the central United States. Even so, scattered severe thunderstorms are still expected over the coming days, bringing the risk of damaging winds, large hail, and a few isolated tornadoes. There is a lot happening in the overall weather pattern, so let's break everything down. The key to understanding this forecast is the jet stream, also known as upper-level winds, because these winds steer storm systems and largely determine where active weather develops. At the moment, a compact shortwave trough is moving from the desert southwest into West Texas. This disturbance is expected to trigger a notable severe weather threat across portions of Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico today, where all types of severe weather remain possible. Meanwhile, a large plume of moisture is streaming inland from both the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. That deep moisture flow has already produced several days of showers and thunderstorms across the southeast, and additional storms are expected again today, including the possibility of a few tornadoes. However, the biggest story continues to be the large-scale atmospheric pattern. A massive low-pressure system remains parked along the west coast while another low-pressure system sits over Canada and the northeast. Between those two systems, a strong area of high pressure is building across the central part of the country. This creates what meteorologists call an omega block pattern. An omega block occurs when a strong ridge of high pressure becomes trapped between two large low-pressure systems, resembling the Greek letter omega. In simple terms, the high-pressure system is squeezed between two storm systems like the middle of a sandwich. This kind of setup often becomes very slow-moving, and forecasts show it may remain in place for at least another week. As Thursday and Friday arrive, the western storm system is expected to barely move at all. The northeastern low-pressure area should also stay nearly stationary. By Friday, the omega block pattern will be fully established across North America, with the high-pressure ridge locked between the two lows. Through the weekend, the overall pattern is expected to remain largely unchanged. One major effect of this setup is that widespread, large-scale severe weather outbreaks become much less likely. For the remainder of May, there does not appear to be any strong signal for major tornado outbreaks. That does not mean severe weather disappears completely, though. Smaller-scale severe storms, known as mesoscale severe weather events, will still develop at times as moisture continues flowing inland from the Pacific and Gulf. Some moisture may even push across the Rockies later in the month, which could allow isolated severe storms to develop across parts of the central and northern plains. Early June currently appears relatively quiet overall, although that forecast could still change. Mesoscale severe weather is especially difficult to predict because these storms form on smaller atmospheric scales. In many situations, forecasters cannot confidently identify exact severe weather areas until roughly 24 hours before storms develop. That uncertainty is simply part of forecasting localized severe weather events. Most of the significant severe weather so far this year has come from larger synoptic scale systems, meaning broad, low-pressure systems capable of producing widespread outbreaks. Over the next 7 to 10 days, many areas will still experience periods of rain and thunderstorms, but whether those storms become severe will depend on local conditions. Looking at today's severe weather outlook, several regions face at least some threat for strong storms. The primary concern stretches across Texas and New Mexico, where the greatest chance for significant severe weather exists. Damaging winds could extend eastward toward Dallas, so residents across North Texas should continue monitoring conditions carefully. Interestingly, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex has experienced severe storms during the last 2 days despite official outlooks not highlighting a severe risk. Some isolated supercells could once again develop ahead of the main storm line today, bringing the possibility of large hail. Additional marginal severe weather threats are outlined across Montana and Idaho, portions of the Midwest, and parts of Kentucky. Across the main threat zone, isolated damaging wind gusts between 50 and 65 miles per hour are possible. Very large hail may also occur in parts of West Texas, particularly south of Lubbock. Smaller hail threats are also possible in Montana, Idaho, central Wisconsin, and southeastern Minnesota this afternoon. A tornado threat also exists today. Parts of Texas are under a 5% tornado risk, while a smaller 2% tornado risk extends from near Wichita Falls toward San Antonio and another area near Lexington, Kentucky. As the day progresses, thunderstorms already developing across West Texas near Lubbock and Odessa are expected to rapidly organize into a larger storm line. The biggest concern will be whether any isolated supercells can form ahead of that line. If they do, a couple tornadoes could develop, including the possibility of an isolated, stronger tornado. By mid-afternoon, a solid line of storms should extend across West Texas toward Abilene and Del Rio. 1 or 2 discrete cells may still form ahead of the line. By late afternoon, severe thunderstorms are expected to intensify across much of West Texas, producing damaging winds up to 65 miles per hour and potentially baseball-sized hail in the strongest storms. At the same time, scattered thunderstorms will continue developing throughout the southeast. A few isolated damaging wind events and brief tornadoes remain possible in Alabama, Georgia, and southern Mississippi. Over the past several days, some unexpected tornadoes have already occurred in Alabama, so residents across the region should continue staying weather-aware. A more concentrated tornado risk is expected across eastern and central Kentucky, mainly between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. By evening, the main storm line in Texas will continue moving eastward toward San Antonio and Dallas. The storms may weaken somewhat before reaching the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but isolated damaging wind gusts near 60 miles per hour could still occur. Later tonight, storms should continue weakening as they move through Houston and parts of Louisiana. Meanwhile, additional thunderstorms are expected this afternoon across parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, including areas near Wausau, Appleton, and northeast of Minneapolis. These storms may produce hail around the size of coins along with isolated wind gusts approaching 60 miles per hour, although the tornado threat there appears extremely low. On Wednesday, the focus for stronger storms shifts toward the Ohio Valley and East Coast. Thunderstorms are expected to develop during the afternoon near Indianapolis, Columbus, and Pittsburgh. The primary hazards will be damaging downburst winds and hail up to quarter or even half-dollar size. Some of those storms may later weaken as they move southward, but isolated damaging winds could still bring down tree limbs and cause scattered power outages in parts of Kentucky and Virginia. By nighttime, most of the storms should gradually diminish. Thursday currently appears to have the lowest organized severe weather risk of the next several days, although thunderstorms are still expected across the Great Plains and Southeast. A few storms in Oklahoma could produce small hail and isolated, strong wind gusts, but the tornado threat on Thursday appears very limited. By Thursday night into Friday morning, storm activity across much of the lower 48 should become relatively quiet. Looking farther ahead, the unusually calm late May weather pattern is expected to continue. Some isolated severe storms may still develop across the high plains during the weekend, particularly in areas like Wyoming, South Dakota, and Nebraska. A few storms there could produce hail, damaging winds, and perhaps a low tornado risk, but widespread organized severe weather does not appear likely right now. There are also early indications from some computer models suggesting weak tropical development may attempt to form near the Florida coast late this weekend or early next week. At this time, the National Hurricane Center is not highlighting any official development area. Even if something does form, it would likely remain weak. The bigger concern would probably be heavy rainfall across Florida, which could actually help areas dealing with dry conditions. Long-range forecast models remain surprisingly quiet heading into the first half of June. While severe weather will certainly occur at some point during early June, many computer models currently show very little organized activity, which is unusual because long-range guidance often tends to overproduce large storm systems. Some European forecast models do hint at a gradual increase in activity later during the first week of June, and that may ultimately happen. Still, compared to a typical late May pattern, this stretch remains exceptionally calm. Temperature-wise, conditions across much of the country actually look fairly comfortable for this time of year. While humidity will remain high across the southeast, many areas elsewhere will enjoy mild conditions. Cooler air is expected across parts of the Ohio Valley and Northeast by Friday morning, where temperatures may drop into the 40s and 50s. The western United States will also remain on the cooler side, especially across areas like Utah and Idaho. Heading into Friday and Saturday, the overall weather pattern should continue featuring relatively pleasant temperatures and a lack of widespread severe weather. This has become one of the quietest late May weather patterns in recent memory. After years of covering active spring severe weather seasons, this calmer pattern stands out as highly unusual. While quieter weather may be a welcome break for many people, it is definitely not the type of May pattern most storm watchers expected to see this year. The next couple of weeks should still be very interesting as meteorologists continue watching for any changes in the overall pattern.